Hey everybody, welcome back to GWN. So my brother and his boy have started playing Clash of Clans, and my nephew asks for some tips on how to farm at Town Hall 7. And I thought, I've been doing the farming series, maybe it's a good time now to jump back and hit Town Hall 7. So these are the armies that I run at Town Hall 7 for farming: GiBArch and what I call Hegiwiz. GiBArch is very common, so it's just straight up Barch without the giants at all. But I like to mix it up a little bit and take some giants and some wall breakers to, help tank and help open up the base. Now, the kind of bases you want to look for something that has a lot of loot, obviously. I go for 300,000-400,000 gold. Don't worry a whole lot about elixir. As long as I'm making 150,000 or so, enough to cover the attack, I'm good. Because between that and a little bit of bonus that you get, it's just not an issue. The way the attack strategy works, you send in your giants first to tank. They're going to soak up the bulk of the damage from the defenses. Then you send in your barbarians or your archers. Kind of depends a little bit. If the base has got a lot of defenses on your first deployment line, probably I don't want to send in those barbarians. Let them soak up anything that the giants don't get. But the archers are the ones that are going to do the bulk of the damage because they have they make damage more quickly to whatever they hit. So as they work their way through the base, typically forming up a nice offensive line, you sweep the base, taking out as much as you can. Now, you don't need to take a clan castle. You don't need to take your hero, your Barbarian King. You can if you want. It certainly makes it easier, but it's not always necessary. And the nice thing about it is this particular strategy works well for getting into a base, as well as for just sniping things around the outer edges. That last base that we looked at, all of the collectors were around the edge. So I could have just as easily gone in with nothing but archers and sniped it and gotten all of the loot that was there on the base. Obviously, I didn't do that. I wanted to push well into the base and get the stuff that was in the storages as well. But it just kind of depends on what the base looks like and what your current levels are and things like that. If you can take a clan castle, I like to take an overpowered ground troop. Here you see I've got the bowlers cranking their way through the base. Spells, try not to use them if you can avoid it, because that means that you'll actually come out on the other end with more elixir in the big scheme of things. But don't be afraid to use them. Personally, I like taking the rage because it really pumps everybody up and they end up walking through the base much more quickly. Now, another strategy that I use, and this is one I typically prefer to use with bases that are kind of compartmentalized. And this base is a so-so example of that. And that would be my Hegiwiz. I send in the giants, and they of course soak up all of the defenses, everything's beaten on them. But I send in healers behind them to help keep them propped up. Drop a heal spell to keep my wizards alive as they go in and start taking down things. If I can take a clan castle, again, I like taking bowlers just because they're an OP troop, and they work really, really well. But what ends up happening with this strategy is, again, you sweep through the base with the wizards acting in a kind of protected space behind the giants. In some cases, they go off on their own, like you can see it's happening there in the middle. That's not always a bad thing. It just depends on where the defenses are and how they're laid out. Typically better to take 2 heal spells rather than a rage spell on this. You can take 2 or 3 rage spells if you want to. A lot of people will do that with their attacks. But when I'm dealing with something of this nature, I prefer to take the heal spells so that I can heal up whatever the healers don't get to. Because inevitably, the troops kind of carve off into multiple packs, if you will, and work their way around and through the base. And as they're doing that, they're going to come under fire. And you really want to be able to heal them up so that you don't have your attack fizzle right at the end, and you end up leaving too much on the playing field. The cost of this one, definitely a little bit more. Wizards and healers cost more, so you're going to be having to get a little bit more in elixir to make sure you cover the cost of your attack. I've got some lower level wizards on this particular game. These are level 3 wizards, so it wasn't too bad. Still around 150,000. Obviously, when you get higher level troops, it costs a little bit more. But as long as you're hitting that 150 to 200,000 mark on elixir, you're going to be just fine. You really want to go out and hit the gold. Now, don't think that you can only attack town halls that are your equal either. Case in point, This is a Town Hall 6. Now I'm on my Clashmeister game, which is at the end of the game, so I'm able to attack with dragons, which is kind of fun. But Town Hall 6, this guy has like mass loot. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to completely 3-star the base and take all the loot. You'll hear about this thing called a loot penalty. A number of years back, Clash of Clans introduced the loot penalty where if you attack the town hall that's lower than your own, you get less loot. But I don't want to say it's a myth, but in a lot of ways it really is. What you see in the left-hand corner is how much you're going to get. And you're not going to attack another base that has less loot than whatever your threshold is. I mean, if this Town Hall 6 only had, say, 100,000 of each to offer, well, I wouldn't be attacking it. But instead, he had, like, 400,000 of each to offer. I'm like, well, that's a pretty good offer. I'm going to go ahead and take that one down, right? Town Hall 8s as a Town Hall 7, you got to be careful here. And this is where you look for the rush bases. Notice the level of the archer towers, of the wizard towers, of the cannons, and so forth. You want to find a base that's a little bit weaker because the player is rushed. And when you find those, you can usually sweep through them. Now, I would not use a GiBArch on a base like this because, again, he's got more buildings, some of the defenses are higher level, and the way things are arranged, you've got so many collectors and storages inside this base, you wouldn't be able to sweep through it with the GiBArch. It's just too strong for that. But at the end of my game on Clashmeister, I'm playing with dragons. I don't care about elixir at all, so I can easily sweep this base with my dragons, and he doesn't have the air defenses to really stop me. I mean, he's got some level 4 ADs in here, and that's just, that's Town Hall 6 stuff. So I can easily sweep his base using dragons. And with a dragon attack, you typically want to take 3 lightning spells, so you can zap one of the ADs and kind of line your dragons up to go after the other 2. If you can take a clan castle, take balloons with you, because the balloons will go straight into the defenses. So there you have it, some replays and some examples of attack strategies that you can use to farm and raid at Town Hall 7. Comments, questions, drop them down below. I love to hear from everybody. I always reply. And thanks a lot for sticking around at the end of the video. I'll be back here soon with additional Clash of Clans content. Y'all take care. Keep on clashing. Bye-bye.